It's the last video, guys. We're wrapping up our Bootstrap 4 website in this video. So that's it. This is the end. This is the last video. Well, not the last video ever, just the last video in this series. So we're going to be doing the upcoming shows section as well as the footer, and in both of them I'm going to be using pseudo elements. And in the shows section we're going to be using FontAwesome to bring in our icons, and I'm going to use some pseudo elements on the price and the date. And then in the footer we're using some pseudo elements to put those slash things in between the social links that are down at the bottom. So that's going to be cool. Also, I'm going to be using this cool little universal selector trick that I think is going to work pretty well in selecting in one of the sections I need to get rid of margin on a bunch of stuff. So it's pretty cool. And before we go into the video, I just want to say to stick around right to the end because I do have a bit of a special announcement. But with that out of the way, now we can get right on to the video.
Alright guys, so we're going to be doing the upcoming shows and the footer in this one. Before I actually get started in coding this up, and I don't think there's a whole lot of work I'm going to have to do, but before we get into it, one thing I am going to need to do is get FontAwesome, because I did use FontAwesome to populate these two things here. So I have the FontAwesome website open. If you don't have it, just come here, fontawesome.io, click right there on download. No thanks, I just need the FontAwesome 4. That's going to give you a zip file. So I'm going to grab that zip file that it's giving me. We're going to, pretty much we just need to take this whole thing actually. So I'm going to take this whole FontAwesome folder, and let's move this out of the way for a second. Here's my project folder. And I'm just going to make a fonts folder in here. So I'm going to do fonts. And I'm going to drag FontAwesome right inside my fonts there. And just so we can go and look, there it is. There's FontAwesome, and everything we need is right there. So I can close down this now, and I can close that. And now I can open up my project again. Okay, and I also want to open up the FontAwesome site actually. If you've never used it, one thing you could do is click on Get Started, and it sort of gives you what you need. If you want to link to their CDN instead of downloading it into your own folder, you have to provide your email address. I think it's just a way for them to get it, but they do give you a unique code, so you can link to their CDN with their unique link that they will email to you. In our case, we're just linking to the regular style sheet. I'm not even going to go in through the we're using Sass in our project, but I'm just going to link to it. So I'm going to copy the link here. I mean, we could do this ourselves, but I'm going to go in my index file here, all the way up. And let's put it right before my own. That's not Bootstrap CSS, that's my CSS. I don't know why I called that Bootstrap CSS before. And let's do let's just FontAwesome and paste that in there. Path to FontAwesome. So this, I believe, will just be fonts/FontAwesome/CSS. And I'm going to save that. So here I'm linking to my typekit fonts. Here I'm linking to my own style sheet, my own FontAwesome, and then to my own style sheet right there. And now we can use it. So let's move this out of the way a little bit. So what I need to do now is I need to get the icons that I want. So I'm going to click over to icons, and actually we'll get there in a second, but we are going to use this icons page, and we'll look at how we can use that in a second. So let's just move this out of the way and come to here and look what we've got. So the main issues, we need to fix upcoming shows. We need to change the font on these four here. And we just need to space things out a little bit differently. Right now it's all sort of equally spaced out. And I want my buttons, for example, should be aligned on the bottom, and we need the little icons in there. And I think that's about all we need to do. Cool. So I'm going to go to my home. I want that. Oh, I already have it open on the top actually. So I can close that. Home, come all the way down, and we can start with our upcoming show section here. But let's go look also at my HTML that I already have. Here's my navbar. Let's just shrink as much of this down as we can. Hero, I don't need to be looking at my hero. About section, I don't need to be looking at. Parallax is empty. Music, we don't need that anymore. Here we go. So my shows. So I called this shows. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is just do a class is equal to display2, I think is the font size we wanted. Good. And I think that would probably be centered. Yeah, that was centered, and it has a good amount of space underneath it. Okay. So let's upcoming shows, and then I can just do a text center on here as well to center it. So display2 gives me my font size, text center is centering it. So let's just remind ourselves how we did this. So we have our section of shows, then we have my container, here's my text, and then I have a row. I called this whole thing shows. I'm gonna call this whole thing actually upcoming shows. So I'm gonna change the name of the whole section. So the whole section is upcoming shows. And then my row here that has all of them in there, I'm gonna call that one shows. I don't know if I need to do this, but I just like each one of those is my shows, and then if I need to style them a bit more specifically, each individual one could be a show. So even right away I can do shows margin top of, let's say 2M. So that looks pretty good. Now, I know I changed my fonts on those, so I'm gonna have to do this the same. This is the show title. This is my fault for making all of my headings be that font, but that's okay. Class is, actually, let's do it for all of them at the same time. So H3 there. I'm gonna control click to put my mouse here too. I'm gonna scroll down to the next one, H3, and let's scroll down to the last one, H3. So my class on all of those will be show title, and I'll save. I also, I did my date and price. Okay, good. That's good. So my show title font family should be my sans. Hey, that's good. Perfect. Let's go look at the Photoshop file just quickly again. So I have that in bold and then that in light. These are actually smaller. The font size on those is smaller a little bit than this one, the way I did it. Okay, so what would be the best way to do this then? I have an idea, but I don't know if I like it. I'm gonna try something. Font size of 0.9M. Okay, so I don't usually do this. This is something I really avoid most of the time, of putting a font size on a div with stuff inside of it. But I really want to be able to control all of this really easily, and this works at doing that. So I'm going to do it in this case, but it is something that I normally try not to do. Okay, so I want to get rid of these spaces under all of these, and I just want to, actually, there's something that's really bothering me. I want to take off the text wrap. I think view... There we go. Okay, so for now I'm going to leave it like this just because it's a little bit easier for me to see what's going on and how everything's, and I think it'd be easier for you guys too. So let's go up. So I have upcoming shows, right? Then I have my container. Okay, so I have my shows, then I have a column, and then I have my card. And then I have my image, and then I have my card image overlay. Okay, so what I actually want to do here, because I want to select all of these and put no margin on them. I want no margin bottom on any of these. So I'm actually going to go on this div is the one that has all the text inside of it. So I'm going to call this one show info, or show information. And I'm going to need to do that on all of them. So that's on all my div class card image overlay. So card image overlay, I'll select there. I'm going to do these ones all at the same time, the last three. Oops, there we go. And so that was show info. And just to make sure, show info, show info. Okay, so they're all a show info. Now this is something that I don't do very often, but what I'm going to do, I'm hoping it works. So show info, and I'm going to do this. And I don't use my universal selector very often, but in this case, it's being pretty specific on what it's actually doing. So this is direct descendant. So I'm selecting everything that's a direct descendant of show info. So if we look at what that is, it's the direct descendant of show info is my H3, these paragraphs, and my button. So if on that I put a margin bottom of 0, there we go. Yes, it worked. They all get stuck together. So none of those get it. This just makes it, I mean, I could select my show title. I would need to give the location a class. So I could do my show title, my date, my price, and say my location. And my button, well, my button doesn't have a margin anyway, but I could each, select all of those and say margin bottom 0. But this way, maybe I put other content in here another time or something like that. So anything that's anything, so this is absolutely everything that's a direct descendant of show info will get a margin bottom of 0. So that's good. The date, I actually need this to be bold, but I need to do a few other things, so I might as well just do date font weight is bold. My bold's not really as bold as I thought it would be anywhere. I'm going to have to go back in later maybe to fix that. So that's okay. Here I have my small. So what I'm going to do is my price also is a font weight of bold, but my price small is a font weight of light. Light. I think I called it normal. So that makes starting at the normal font, and then this $19 is the bold. I could use the small to change the font size, but I'm actually happy with what the font size is there. So now's the fun thing. Now is when we want to bring in our FontAwesome. So I'm going to open that up. And actually, I'm just going to make this 2 tabs so I don't have to go back between the two. One of them is the calendar one, I think they call it. There we go, calendar. I don't remember which one I used. I'm going to say it was this one. I think that's the cleanest one that we can use for this. So if you've never used FontAwesome, there's a few different ways you can use it. I could come in and grab this and then actually paste it inside here. So this is my date. So I could paste that right in there. I'm going to save that. If I set everything up properly, which I haven't because it's not working. It means I did something wrong here with my fonts. Let's just go and see. That would be my link. I'm not linking it properly. So let's go and check. That'd be all the way at the top. Fonts. So it's going into fonts. It's going in, oops, here we go. Let's just rename this actually. Rename, I'll take the version off. It cannot, not permitted. Interesting. Okay, so we'll just rename it here then. 4.7.0. So I'm going to save. There we go. Oh, I thought I was working on this one, but you can see it showed up there. The thing is, okay, so let's go back and see what I was doing. Let's go find the second one. Here it is. So here's the big thing I pasted. Now I wouldn't want to have to paste this every time. Every time I have a date, I want this icon to automatically be included. I don't want to have to do it manually, because having to do that manually every single time is a pain in the butt. So what I want to do is I want to say before. So before my date. Okay, so in the before of my date, what I want to do is I want to give it some content. And this is one of those times we are going to give it content. I also want it to display block. So my content in this case, I'm going to get it by coming over to here again. And you'll notice there's a Unicode. So whenever you come onto one of these, you'll be able to find the Unicode for it. And I'm just going to copy that Unicode number. I'm going to do a backslash, which is an escape character. So backslash and then my Unicode. And let's save that, and it should appear there, except it's not. Oh, and I said inline block, and I put block, inline block. Why? If you get a regular blocks like that, means the font's not working. It doesn't understand what that is, and that's because I didn't tell it that the font family is FontAwesome. There we go. It worked. Cool. So we have to say, of course, that the font is FontAwesome, and then we can put the content there. And actually, let's just put a space after. That didn't work. I wasn't sure if that space would give me a space there, but it's not. So this is why display inline block will let me do a margin right. It's going to be pretty small. I'm just actually going to do a pixel value. Something like that. And even the font size on this one, font size 0.8 em. I'm using M for this font size because if ever I change this font size, this one will change with it. So there we go. I think that actually looks pretty good. Let's go look at the Photoshop file for 1 second. Actually, my spacing isn't quite like what I did it there, eh? That's okay. We're going to fix the spacing in a second. So I want a little bit more space on the right. I can probably put that bigger again, actually. Yeah, let's bring that back up to how it was. I was happy with my Photoshop thing there. So let's save that. Margin right, I don't know, 0.5 em maybe will be better. And I'm going to give it a margin top. No, not here actually. I'm just going to give my date a margin top. Margin top of 1.5 em. And that's probably too big, 1.25 em. So if we looked at my original file, there was a separation between the dates. So I took all the margin bottoms off, and then I'm just creating this spacing here with a margin top. Awesome. So that looks good. So now I need the same thing for my price icon. So let's go back. I think I used like a ticket. I don't know if it was actually called ticket search icons. Is that what they called it? It is ticket. Cool. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Grab the Unicode. So then for my price, I have my small, and then I have my and before. And actually, the easiest thing here might just be to copy that. Yep. Paste here, and change this so this is F145. Save that. There we go. Awesome. That looks super nice. I'm really happy with that. The last thing I want to do is align my buy tickets down at the bottom. And this is actually really nice and easy to do, once again, with Flexbox. Flexbox gives us opportunities to align stuff. So what I'm going to do is, I'm wondering, I was going to do it the way I've done it throughout, where I was adding the classes in here. And I'm just wondering, yeah, because I want it on the card, right? No, I want it on this one. So I've already made show info, because this is the one I'd want to be display flex. So I've already shown you guys how to do it with with Bootstrap by adding the classes directly onto Control Flexbox. In this case, just so I don't have to repeat the classes a whole bunch of times here for all of my cards that I have, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do it up here. So I'm going to do my show info is a display flex. We'll save that and see if it breaks everything. Yep. So then I'm going to do my flex direction of column. And there we go. It's back to normal. Okay, so with that, this is now flexing. It looks just like it did, but now I can come on my buttons and I can align them up on the bottom. Now, either way, I would prefer to make a new class for this, because I don't like nesting. You know, I could do this by doing button and doing some rules on this, because then any button that's in the show info will act this way. Technically, it would be a little bit easier. Now this is a nice trick with Flexbox. You can't do this if you're not using Flexbox, but I'll show you what I'm doing, what this is doing. If I did nest it, which I said I'm not going to, but if I did nest these, margin top auto, I think we'll push them down to the bottom. Yeah, use it. Margin auto stuff works differently with Flexbox, and it works in cool ways. So my margin top auto will just make it push it down all the way to the bottom pretty much. It's sort of like just align it down. You're making your margin top as big as it needs to be. So that's pretty cool. So I can also do that with a class. So if you want to nest it on yours, go ahead and nest it. In my case, what I'm going to do is we're going to grab my button primary here, and I can do in margin top auto. And let's see, there we go, that worked. So I'll do all my other buttons. So I have my primary, space, empty auto, save, and there we go. They're all lined up automatically on the bottom. Now the one thing where this layout broke was at the very small screen sizes. So again, I think I did these all as an small 3. So I think this is going to change to an MD3. So actually I should select all of them at the same time. Small, actually let's just put it right here at the end of the 3. Select that one. Actually, I keep going back here, but let's just make our lives a lot easier to see what we're doing by collapsing all of that down. So we can select all of my columns. I want these to all be a medium 3 instead of a small 3. And let's try column small 6. Save that, and let's see what this does. So at my large screen sizes, it looks good. Medium, yeah, I guess that's medium still. And then when I hit small, I guess that's the new medium. So it's busted there already. And then it should turn into 4. And then they go like that. And now I still have that problem I had up top. See, my images are stretching at this screen size. This is a known bug with this version of the alpha from the reading I've done. So there's nothing I can do about that. And I'm actually going to change this to an L. Just change all of them at the same time. LG. And these will get changed to an MD. Save. So that looks okay. And then here it should jump. There we go. Turns into the blocks of 4. And then it goes and they stack one on top of each other. Awesome. Very cool. Very, very nice. And I'm super happy with that. The last thing we need to do now is our footer. And our footer does need a new file, because our footer, like our other things, it will go in components. Our navigation is something that's on every single page. Our parallax was something that was designed to be able to work on every single page, and our footer is something that obviously can go on every single page. So I'm going to save this file, go into there, my SCSS file, components, and it's _footer.scss. Go to my main, under components, add import components /footer, and for once I'll remember to put my semicolon at the end. And okay, so for the footer, there's not a lot we need to do. I'm just going to do a margin, footer. We'll put a margin top on it, top of like 3M, 4M, so let's try 4. That looks pretty good. Our background on it should be black. Some padding on it, padding 1.5M, 0. See what that looks like. I have more space on the bottom probably because this paragraph has some margin on it. Is that, let's just go look at how, yeah, that's a paragraph. So there's a little bit of margin on that. What if I just did 2M, 1.5M? That looks pretty good. Okay, so that looks nice. The color on here is wrong. So my color should be something like gray light. That looks much better. I was going to make my name a link, but whatever. Let's just focus on these links here. Those, I think I gave them, they're in my list items there. They're just inline list items. This is somewhere where I will use nesting, just like I will with a nav. I do nest links that are in a footer. It doesn't bother me that much. So these will have a color of gray. Let's go with light. Gray light as well on there, because that's just too dark. Okay, and let's actually give these an underline. Text decoration underline, so I can see them, that they're links that we can click on. And let's go look at my Photoshop file. I know I didn't underline them here. I just did it like that, actually. Okay, never mind. You know what? It's pretty obvious they're links if you look at them. So let's just leave it like that. Save. I'm actually wondering, I said I was going to leave these just like that, but I think I'm actually going to come on all of these and call them social links. So I changed my mind a bit, so I'm going to remove that. Except I called it social links, but it's not on the link itself. Social, should I call it social links? Actually, okay, let's leave that like that. Let's leave it like that. It's okay. The reason for this is I want to do my social links. If I did this on the A, it wouldn't really work how I want this to work. So I'm going to have to do it on my social. I want to do this on the list items, basically. So my social links will have a... Okay, let's do what I want to do first. Let's do social links before. And what I want to do is I want to add those things. So my social links before, I want to add the slashes between. Content will be a /. Display inline block. And let's just save and see what happens. There we go. So you can see that I'm getting those slashes everywhere. And let's just add a space here. Is that going to work? It's not going to work. That's okay. Okay, so that's what's giving me that line in between each. I'm also going to change the color of these. Color is going to be RGBA. Or no, you know what? Transparentize. This is a fun one to use. So I can transparentize my light and my gray light. And how much do I want to make it transparent? Let's make it like 0.5. And maybe even 0.4. So transparentize just turns RGBA, turns this into like an RGBA. Actually, I think I can even do RGBA and just do a gray light, comma, 0.4. Can I do that? Yeah, I can do that too. So I don't really need to do transparentize. RGBA, you can put in the color you want with the value, and in SAS, it will turn that into an RGBA value. So that's cool. And now I don't want this one to have a slash. So links, social links, before social links, not first of type. There we go. So I'm selecting all my social links except the one that's first of type. So not selecting the first of type, but I'm selecting the before. So before of all of my social links, first of type. And I have text wrap on here too, which is kind of annoying. View, toggle soft wrap. And we can just make this bigger for a second. So before all of my social links, but not the first of type. First of type is the first one. So the first one doesn't get that slash there. Then I can say my social links have margin of 0 and, I don't know, 3em to space them out quite a bit. Except they don't have enough room, and that's way too much space. 1em. Oh, and even... Okay, I want the space, social links. Okay, I screwed this up a little bit. I want this to be part of the link. No, I had that in the right spot. Yeah, I want that on my list item. Okay, yeah. Okay, no. And then I can say my social links. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let's take this off and take this off. Okay, so that's good. Now what I'm going to do is my social links, the links that are social links. my naming on this was very bad, but my A tags that are social links inside of social links will have, let's save the color of gray light. So this is exactly what we had before. And these will have a margin. Actually, I have to change my display of inline block. And now I can do my margin of 0, 1em. Awesome. So there we're getting my spacing on both sides. Cool. Good. And the reason this is working is I'm putting the hyphen, effectively this whole before thing is just inserting a little, like it's doing this. So it's doing it before my link on each one of them. So I have to put my margin on the link itself to get space on both sides of my link. So if I save that, we're good, except I don't have enough room, and maybe it's just because it's in a small 5. I have a 7 and a 5. This doesn't need to be a 7. I think the space is too much, actually. Let's do a 0.5 first. And this could even be like a 5 and a 7. There, that makes more sense. The space is a little bit off, just because, so margin, what if I just did 0 and then 0.6em? That looks more equal. It's a bit of a magic number there just to get something to perfectly work, but it works. So I think that looks pretty good. So yeah, what I did there is I'm adding in the social links before. So whenever you use the before, it's putting it before the content that's inside of there. So right here, I'm adding a / inside of each one of those. So I can't add the margin to these, because if I add the margin to this, it's would put space on one side here, but it would keep them glued together. That's the problem I ran into. So by doing this, where I'm putting the margin on my links themselves, now I can get the spacing in between them. Just make sure, because I used the small on that, and I just want to see where that's going to break at. See, it's doing that. So this is going to get changed over to an MD, even an LG, I think. Save. That's fine. And then it goes like that. And do we do a text align center at the small screen sizes? Would that make more sense? I think it would make more sense. Again, do I want this space there? Not really. So let's just make this at the small screen sizes be text align center. So that would just be footer text align center. That looks pretty sweet. And then what we can do is at include media breakpoint up large, because that's where it changes. We will do a text align left. Save. So that should make it so we're center aligned. And then when I get to the large screen size, and they're no longer stacked on top of each other. They go like that and the text alignment changes. Cool. And actually, I just saw that this is not, I want this one aligned on that side. That's, what's that one called? I don't want it just on those. I need this whole thing. I could do a, on this whole column, I could do a text. Isn't it text right? But then it's always going to be text right. I don't think there's media queries built into that. Like here it looks good now. But obviously once it breaks, it no longer looks good. We always get to the end and run into these silly little problems. So what this is actually going to get called, I'm going to change the social links. And this will be a social link. That makes more sense, right? So all of my social links, so this is my social link A, actually it doesn't matter there actually, social link. And then what I can do is my social links, plural, is at include, at include media breakpoint up, large, text align right. So save, everything's saved, everything's working. That's right aligned, that's left aligned. We are laughing, we're in business. Let's just go all the way back up to the top and take a look to see if there's anything that catches our attention. But I think it's done. We are finished. We have wrapped it up. Let's just go look at the small screen size one last time. Again, double check it. Again, those stretch pictures I sadly can't do anything about. Oh, sweet. I'm really happy with how this project turned out. Amazing.
And that's it, guys. We're all wrapped up. The site is done. I think it's looking fantastic. I hope you like it. So that's it for the website. It's all wrapped up. But as I said, I have a special announcement. And that special announcement is that I've started a Patreon page. Now, if you don't know what Patreon is, it's a place where you can financially support creators that you really like. So in this case... So if you're not sure what Patreon is, very quickly, it's a place where you can support creators who make awesome stuff, whether it's YouTube videos, podcasts, people who write books, draw stuff. And with the support that you give them, you get perks in return. So some of the perks that I'm offering up on my Patreon page are some behind-the-scenes stuff, ability to take part in the deciding of what videos are coming up next through some polls and stuff like that. I'm even looking at starting up a CodePen Pro, which is going to let people, like a professor mode, where you can follow along with me in CodePen live as I'm doing stuff and making videos. So if you want more details on all of this, go down to the link below and you can check that out. You can see how the whole thing works. I have an intro video there that goes into more detail, as well as just more, there's a lot more information over on the site in general. If you already know what Patreon is, awesome, you know. I hope you're already supporting some other creators, and if you want to support me, I would be so grateful. Honestly, it would make me feel amazing that you find that much value in what I do. If you don't want to support me, you already are, because you're watching my videos. Hopefully you're leaving some comments below. The community is growing. You're spreading the word. That's all I can really, you know, that's awesome. That's amazing already. But for those who are able to, that's awesome. I know some people always get a little worried with a Patreon, that thing, when creators use Patreon, they're going to limit the original content that's free, and then they're going to start only putting stuff up on the Patreon. I'm not doing that. Everything here stays the same. I'm not planning on changing anything that I'm doing here. It's extra stuff over there, and that's it. Things here are going to stay the same. The type of content will stay the same. I'm going to have series, I'm going to have short videos. It's all going to be free. There's no changes in any of that. It's optional extras. That's all Patreon is. So thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for watching this entire series. And thank you for sitting through my whole spiel there on Patreon. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And until next time, don't forget to make your corner of the internet just a little bit more awesome.